Right now, Bitcoin NFTs are exploding. A lot of people are excited by this. Some people are pissed off about it. Quite honestly, some of the Bitcoin maximalists hate this idea of Bitcoin NFTs or Bitcoin ordinals. In today's video, we're going to talk about why these Bitcoin NFTs could be exploding. We're going to look at how they're created, why they're created, what makes them different than an Ethereum NFT. We're going to look at some of the pros and the cons. And ladies and gentlemen, there are, in my opinion, some very strong arguments for Bitcoin ordinals, also known as Bitcoin NFTs. There's also some very strong cons. Some of them, I think it's very possible, even if you like the idea of Bitcoin ordinals, you may not have thought of some of these cons because there's some very serious potential problems associated with these as well. I'm going to be covering that in this video. I'm also going to be talking about a little bit later in the video how we can, as a cryptocurrency investors, invest in this trend. There's about 4 different ways we can invest. Also, how you can find out my specific strategy for investing in Bitcoin ordinals as well. All right, so first things first, where in the world these things come from? Why do they get created? Let's go ahead and start here with the creator, Casey Rodamore, however you say his name. This gentleman, I believe, is a Bitcoin core developer, and he posted this back on January 1st. This is before he actually released the code or the protocol. He said NFT is a tainted term. So I'm referring to inscribed sats as digital artifacts. So he's saying we're not going to call them Bitcoin NFTs. We're going to call them digital artifacts. Like a physical artifact, digital artifacts are immutable, self-contained, unique, transferable, unseizable. Digital artifacts are NFTs. NFT stands for non-fungible token, but most existing non-fungible tokens are not digital artifacts. If an Ethereum NFT has a mutable contract, meaning that it's changeable, or an operator key, or a reference to an off-chain content, it is not a digital artifact. Most people don't realize this, but most Ethereum NFTs are not actually stored on the Ethereum blockchain. Most Ethereum NFTs, in simple terms, are essentially a link pointing to an image on a server. In other words, if that server goes down, they effectively lose their NFT because the NFT is not stored on the blockchain. Radamore goes on to say this means the vast majority of Ethereum NFTs are not digital artifacts, and many Ethereum NFTs that claim to be on-chain are not. He's kind of doing a little shot over the bow here. Autoglyphs are not on-chain. This is a popular collection of NFTs. Autoglyphs are not on-chain. This is what you see on OpenSea. It's honestly been a joy to dive into Ethereum NFTs and find out how bad they are. The specs and implementation of these specs are terrible, and there are opportunities to improve on everything. And then he made this announcement on the 20th of January. Inscriptions are finally here for Bitcoin mainnet. Inscriptions are like NFTs, but are true digital artifacts, decentralized, immutable, always on-chain, and native to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin ordinals, as they've now are called instead of Bitcoin inscriptions, are essentially NFTs that are everything that Casey just complained about in the previous thread about Ethereum NFTs. They're actually stored on-chain, which is incredible. They're fully immutable, which is also pretty incredible. He said inscriptions, and in place of inscriptions, you can basically say ordinals. Inscriptions are made on sats, meaning Satoshi, Bitcoin Satoshi, which are tracked and transferred using ordinal theory, which gives individual identities and allows them to be tracked and transferred across transactions. So he goes on to basically announce he's created this entire ecosystem known as Bitcoin ordinals, which is a pretty interesting development. Now, a lot of people are not excited by this. One of the things that's interesting about Bitcoin ordinals, by the way, is an Ethereum NFT, the counterparty on Ethereum, outside of oftentimes not being stored on chain. And there's a reason for that. It's because gas fees would be really, really high to try to put them actually on the Ethereum blockchain. Outside of that, most NFTs have a royalty built in where the creator makes a royalty. They get, say 10%. And for the entire life of the NFT, every time that it's bought and sold, the original creator earns that royalty. The way the Bitcoin NFTs are set up, or Bitcoin ordinals, as they are now called most often, the way that they're set up is they don't have that fee. So it's truly immutable, if you will, is truly decentralized, and it truly only has one owner. And when it gets sold, there's not some ongoing royalty that goes to someone else. Depending on how you feel about that capitalistic model, that's either a good thing or a bad thing for you. Now, I think long term is actually a good thing that royalty is not paid out. However, I also find from a purely art creative, speculative standpoint, there's a lot less incentive for someone to create NFTs if they basically are only going to get paid on that first sale. Now, I've never been a fan of NFTs in a purely art sense, but I do like NFTs as a digital tokenization of actual ownership. Think of like a car title or a home title one day in a digital world. If you could tokenize that and have proof that you actually own it. Or in the gaming world, if you actually, own some sort of digital asset in a game, whether it was a skin or a special weapon or, something like a house or something. Imagine a world like Minecraft where you could build a house and you could somehow convert it into an NFT, and then you could sell that house to someone else and you would actually sell them that NFT, and then they would have that in-game asset. I think stuff like that, to me, is far more interesting in the overall NFT space. Now let's go ahead and continue. Let's look at some of the cons to Bitcoin ordinals, because like I said, this is very, very controversial technology right now. The Bitcoin maximalists hate this, and some of the reasons they don't like it are listed here below. Bitcoin ordinals takes away from the highest use case of Bitcoin as neutral global money. I would agree with that. It takes away from that use case a little bit, but at the same time, I think in a long game perspective, it actually adds to that use case, meaning Bitcoin can't become neutral global money until people are using it. So I think that Bitcoin ordinals is just another way ultimately for somebody to own more Bitcoin or to use more Bitcoin, or people who don't necessarily see Bitcoin as neutral global money, but they might like the digital tokenized asset on the world's most secure blockchain, which is currently Bitcoin. One of the cons is that it could lead to blockchain bloat, and that's true. It could lead to higher transaction fees eventually with Bitcoin. That's also true. And a lot of people say this is a problem because when you start talking about underserved countries, developing countries, or an unbanked society who may be trying to send a digital transaction, then a high fee basically hurts the people who need this technology the most. And it's a fair argument. Bitcoin ordinals, they may not be permanent. There's actually a push, there's a bit of a movement to sort of either roll back Taproot or to create additional development on the blockchain. This is just being talked about right now, but the idea being that maybe there could be a way to prevent people from being able to create Bitcoin ordinals, because the Bitcoin maximalists hate this whole idea of Bitcoin NFTs. They only want Bitcoin to be used as money, digital money, and that is the primary use case for Bitcoin, and that's all they want. And quite honestly, Satoshi said the same thing on some of his writings on the old Bitcoin Talk forum. I mean, he specifically said he did not like the idea of sort of inscriptions or whatnot being on the blockchain. He wanted to be as clean as possible, as simple as possible, and used primarily for transactions, economic transactions such as money. But here's the flip side to if Bitcoin ordinals are not permanent, for the people who believe in collectible NFTs, how do you make something far more valuable? You make it where once it's created, it can never be recreated again. In fact, none of that particular art style could ever be recreated again. It's very possible by making Bitcoin ordinals no longer possible to mint or to create. And by the way, I'll show you a little later in the video how you can mint your own Bitcoin ordinal if you wanted to. But by making it where that's no longer possible, it's really possible that suddenly you shot the rarity up on all Bitcoin ordinals that have previously been minted. So maybe for those who are in this ecosystem early, in a roundabout way, this could actually be a good thing. Now, I did say that they may not be permanent. I will say it looks like most of the community that I've researched has kind of resigned to the idea that, hey, we're not going to be able to stop this, but we don't have to like it, and we can encourage people not to do it. I think that's a losing strategy for them, unfortunately. And I can appreciate the people who are Bitcoin maximalists because I can agree with a lot of their ethos. But I think that if you're purely a Bitcoin maximalist and the only good thing you see in Bitcoin is a neutral global money, then I think you may be missing some of Bitcoin's ultimate potential, in my personal opinion. And I mean, listen, if you disagree with me, that's totally okay. Here's another con. There can be some disturbing images that could become NFTs. This is very bad. When you think about illegal images, the worst type of images that you can think about, you think about the images that Jared Fogle from Subway had on his computer, for example, I don't even want to say it out loud, then it's possible people could eventually put those type of images as NFTs on a Bitcoin blockchain. And the problem with that is because it's actually on the blockchain, every single person who downloads a full node will essentially have in their ownership these images. And that could put individuals at legal risk for running a full node. Most law enforcement would not necessarily prosecute or arrest someone for this, at least in the US, because your intent matters in this case. But at the same time, if this became common, it definitely could be a vector of attack from a PR standpoint. They've already tried to say people using Bitcoin in the past. They've tried to say, if you were using Bitcoin, the only reason to use it is because if you're buying drugs and stuff on the dark web. That was an early attack on Bitcoin. And they've also tried to attack Bitcoin in other ways. They tried to say that it was anonymous and it was used primarily for money laundering. Most of us who are in this space understand that Bitcoin is not fully anonymous and it's not easily to use for money laundering. In fact, we all recognize that the US dollar is used for money laundering far more than Bitcoin, right? But here's just another potential vector of attack is, hey, the people who are downloading this, you're also downloading these horrible, horrific images, whatever they may be. And there's really no good way to stop people from doing that if they wanted to do it. Unfortunately, people don't realize already years ago, people were able to inscribe actual websites, pornographic websites. Now they couldn't put images on there, but they just put websites on there. They're already on the full node. So if people could try to do that way back when, who knows what they could try to put on the blockchain now. That is a possible con for sure, in my personal opinion. Now let's look at some of the pros to Bitcoin ordinals. It creates a true digital artifact that is actually on chain. It's not a link pointing to an image that you don't actually own the image. You own a link pointing to some server that server could get taken down at some point within your lifetime. That alone makes Ethereum NFTs kind of ridiculous in my personal opinion. I think Bitcoin ordinals from a pro, they create additional use cases for Bitcoin other than neutral global money. We've already touched on that. And I think that this is, listen, one of the underlying purposes of this channel outside of creating mass awareness long term, one of the methods that I use is being able to show people how you can invest in cryptocurrency, how you can earn passive income with cryptocurrency, because I understand if you can help people earn cryptocurrency and they see a value there, then teaching people how to set up a Bitcoin wallet isn't so hard, because all of a sudden they're like, okay, you showed me how to earn some free Bitcoin. I've got $25 here. How do I withdraw this $25? Well, first you got to set up a Bitcoin wallet. And once you set up a Bitcoin wallet, you got to understand how to send a transaction on the blockchain. You got to make a withdrawal. You got to send a transaction. You got to connect your bank account. And all of a sudden, that's a far more effective way I have found to be able to introduce people to this technology. I see Bitcoin ordinals as possibly doing the same thing, particularly if it can become a digital asset on the blockchain. Imagine, being a gamer and someone wants to sell you some cool weapon on some, video game, and it's like, how can I get that weapon? Well, it's an NFT. What's an NFT, or what's an ordinal? Well, you just need to set up this wallet and I can send it to you. I see that as another avenue of creating mass adoption, and I see that as overall long-term a positive thing. And therefore, I think Bitcoin ordinals could help increase Bitcoin mass adoption. I think that Bitcoin ordinals could decrease circulating supply because the idea is you hold them. Now, an ordinal, I think, is only about 9,000 Satoshi right now, so it's not a lot of value. But if this became popular, and say there was a popular video game, for example, that was allowing Bitcoin ordinal NFTs to be used inside of that video game. Think of one of the most popular ones, whether it was, Call of Duty, for example, or any of those, World of Warcraft, for example. Just the sheer volume of people that could be holding digital assets on the blockchain. I mean, I believe that over time could definitely tie up a lot of cryptocurrency that people wouldn't want to sell. And therefore, that would help the store of value narrative, because all of a sudden you're essentially limiting the circulating supply. So I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing, at least for the price of Bitcoin long term. Also, ordinals for now help to fill empty Bitcoin blocks. In order for Bitcoin to be more secure, we really need each block to be filled. They're not all filled currently. So by people minting ordinals, there's more transactions out there, and it's helping to fill blocks. And that's in the short term, that's a good thing for Bitcoin. Now, people are talking about Bitcoin chain bloat. That was one of the cons. That is a real concern long term, but right now, that's not a concern. That's for sure. And here's my argument about Bitcoin bloat. If we're worried about something like Bitcoin ordinals clogging up the blockchain, then Bitcoin is not even close to being able to be used prime time as neutral global money. Like, we need the throughput to be far faster long term. So if people are worried about Bitcoin bloat because of ordinals, I would say we need developers to continue to develop to make that throughput faster, more efficient somehow in the long run. Another pro is it helps to increase compensation to miners. This becomes more important as block rewards decrease over time. Listen, as more and more Bitcoin are mined, eventually, right now, they get rewards for mining full blocks. But eventually, most of their rewards or most of their compensation is going to come from miner fees. So increasing the demand on the blockchain, increasing the transactions on the blockchain, ultimately that does increase fees, and that's bad in one respect, but is good in another respect because it incentivizes more people to be Bitcoin miners, essentially. Now, how can you actually invest into Bitcoin ordinals? And before I get into this, ladies and gentlemen, if you've liked this video so far, do me a favor and smash that like button. Hit that subscribe button, click the bell notification icon, and click all. If you have any questions, feel free to put them down in the comments. Be sure to subscribe. I will put out some more videos on Bitcoin ordinals if you would like me to do that. Also, a little bit later in the video, I'm going to show you how you can get my full strategy on how I'm specifically investing currently with Bitcoin ordinals. So right now, how in the world could you invest in this trend? If you see Bitcoin ordinals, you're like, hey, this is a hot new thing. I missed out on maybe the DeFi side of cryptocurrency. Maybe I missed out on Bitcoin. I wasn't one of the early OGs, and you're like, hey, I want to get in on this new trend. How in the world could you get in on this new trend? The obvious way to do it is to just buy Bitcoin ordinals to kind of speculate on price and then flip the ordinals and hopefully be able to flip them for a profit. Specifically because there's not very many there's not any that I'm aware of, any decentralized marketplaces right now, although there are some under development. So there are some people who believe that if you buy some of the, more original Bitcoin ordinals, some of the early ordinals getting created right now, then once there are more exchanges or there are better exchanges, people are going to want to be able to flip those for a profit and may boost the demand. So if you want to play that game, you definitely can. And I'll show you in a moment how you can actually make your own Bitcoin ordinal, which I didn't, mention that until point number 2 here, but you can actually just mint your own and sell it. So there's always a buy and speculate and flip, or you can mint your own. Typically, you're going to want to think of some sort of a unique idea, or maybe a tongue-in-cheek type idea. If you got some sort of funny logo or funny meme or funny piece of digital art that you think people would like, then you can mint your own, and I can show you how to do that here in a moment. The other thing you can do is buy into ecosystem tokens. So one of them is STX. This is probably, listen, none of this is financial advice, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a cryptocurrency enthusiast, cryptocurrency YouTuber, and I believe in this technology long term. Therefore, I don't mind investing in this technology, but I am not a financial advisor. However, the sort of safer play might be buying into the STX token. We'll talk about what that is here in a moment. More of the high risk play, a much smaller cap play, would be something like the ORD token or the OBTC token, and we'll discuss each one of those here in the video. So first up, let's talk about the STX token, also known as the Stacks token. So Stacks is basically a layer 2 blockchain. It's ideally bringing smart contracts to Bitcoin. And again, there are people who absolutely are against this. A couple of interesting things about Stacks. Not only can they run smart contracts on top of the Bitcoin blockchain. Essentially, what that means is they do all their computations on essentially a side chain or a chain on top of Bitcoin, but ultimately all the data comes back to the Bitcoin blockchain. So you have the security of Bitcoin, and you're able to operate smart contracts essentially on the Stacks chain. Proof of transfer is the kind of unique mechanism they use. We'll look at what that is here in a moment. Bitcoin DeFi, this is something that Bitcoin ordinals might actually bring about a little bit of Bitcoin DeFi. And again, the Bitcoin maximalists hate this idea. But essentially, what Stacks is trying to do is much bigger than Bitcoin NFTs or Bitcoin ordinals. They're literally trying to be the Ethereum layer on Bitcoin. I mean, there is significant potential for a project like Stacks. And they have their own token, the Stacks or the STX token. And of course, Bitcoin NFTs secured by Bitcoin. NFTs that are secured by Bitcoin are exploding on the network right now. So one way to create NFTs is using the Stacks network, and I'll show you that here in a moment. But I want to talk about Stacks using this kind of unique technology here, proof of transfer. I've never talked about this on the channel before, although I've thought about it many times. What's interesting about Stacks is you can stake your Stacks token and earn actual Bitcoin. And the reason that works is because of this proof of transfer mechanism. So right here, popular consensus mechanisms in modern blockchains include proof of work, which is Bitcoin, in which nodes dedicate computing resources, and proof of stake, currently Ethereum and cryptocurrencies like Dash, in which nodes dedicate financial resources to secure the network. Proof of burn is another, less frequently used consensus mechanism where miners compete by burning or destroying a proof of work cryptocurrency as a proxy for computing resources. By the way, if you know of a proof of burn cryptocurrency, do me a favor and put it down in the comments. I'd love to see what else is out there that's doing proof of burn. Now, Stacks uses proof of transfer. Proof of transfer is an extension of the proof of burn mechanism. Proof of transfer uses a proof of work cryptocurrency of an established blockchain to secure a new blockchain. However, unlike proof of burn, rather than burning the cryptocurrency, miners transfer the committed cryptocurrency to some other participants in the network. There you go. Miners essentially who are mining Stacks tokens essentially are sending Bitcoin to people who are holding or staking their Stacks token. They're sending out small amounts of Bitcoin, and there's basically a weighted mechanism that randomly decides who mines the next Stacks block, if you will, to get that next reward. And it's all based on this proof of transfer. So if you own the Stacks token and you stake them, right now you can get I think it's like an 8% APY in Bitcoin. And you would do that on a website like OKCoin if you don't have, the money to run a full stack node yourself. By the way, I'm not endorsing OKCoin. To my knowledge, it's the only place that you can stake stacks if you're if you're not a whale. So I'm not endorsing OKCoin at all. I don't have an affiliate, fee link for them or anything like that. Don't know anything about them. I just know they're one of the few places in my research that a small minnow can stake their Stacks tokens and earn the Bitcoin rewards, which is somewhat interesting. Now that's Stacks. We'll come back to Stacks when we talk about minting ordinals. Let's go ahead and look at ORD. ORD, Ordinex, they're looking to create a secure and trustless Bitcoin NFT trading. Secure, trustless, transparent environment for the trading of Bitcoin ordinals with an easy to use interface. So this is very, very interesting if it is in fact real. This is a brand new project. It's launched in the past couple of days, I believe, essentially trying to create a decentralized, trustless OpenSea. Well, OpenSea is for Ethereum NFTs. They're attempting to do it for Bitcoin NFTs, but right now there are exchanges, but they're peer-to-peer exchanges, essentially sort of an eBay of exchanges for Bitcoin ordinals. But they're trying to create something that is going to be secure, decentralized, and trustless. And can they do it? I don't know. I mean, literally, the only proof that we got is experienced team. Our team is made up of developers with years of experience working with the Bitcoin blockchain. Right now, they have a website, they have a Telegram, and they have a Medium article explaining this. This is very, very early. If you want to talk about a high risk play, this is a high risk play. There's literally nothing here right now. I will say inside the Telegram, they are very active in the Telegram. There is a supposed developer, and I don't mean that he's not the developer. I'm saying you don't know as an investor. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. I take a balanced approach to investing. So there is a developer who almost every single day he's in there communicating inside the Telegram, which is very encouraging. And there's a very active, passionate community inside the Telegram. So that's definitely, if you were doing your research, I would definitely check out their Telegram. I would definitely read their Medium articles. If you come over here and look right here on the change, you can see there's been a bit of a pullback on the token. Depending on how you look at technical analysis, This may or may not be a good time. The bottom may be in. Maybe it's going to go back up. Maybe it just crushes through and just keeps going. If they come out with any sort of platform, supposedly they're going to be releasing a sort of a playground platform here soon, they say. I don't know exactly what soon means or how soon is soon, but it's going to be interesting if that was to happen or if it does happen. This is a very small market cap. You're looking at 4 million market cap. So there's a lot of upside potential, but of course there's a lot of risk as well. So if you're going to make this play, you've got to kind of balance out that risk. Another project is OBTC. So OBTC is essentially trying to do the same thing Ordinance is doing. In fact, there's a bit of a controversy right now because Ordinance is actually a fork, is my understanding, of OBTC. The challenge is, and this is the problem I have. So the rumor, and I don't know this for sure, but the rumor that I keep reading about is OBTC was original, but they basically did some sort of a launch and then they sold $200,000 worth of tokens, and that was a bad thing, and maybe it is a bad thing, or maybe they're trying to use the funds to fund their project. I don't know. People are upset about that, and people in the Ordinance community say OBTC is an imposter, and people in the OBTC community on Twitter say no, OBTC is original and Ordinance is a clone of OBTC, and who knows? I don't drink the Kool-Aid of either side. If I'm gonna do something, then I'm gonna figure out how to hedge my risk, and basically the first one to market is probably gonna win. Now, one of the problems with OBTC right now, the website you're looking at, is basically they have a Medium article and the Telegram is essentially ineffective. There's nothing if you go to launch DApp yet. I mean, this is early days stuff. You go to Telegram, only 495. You try to open up Telegram, you get this thing here. You try to click on it. You're like, okay, tap to verify. You will get this link here. You go to click on this link, invite link is invalid. I reached out to them on Twitter and was like, how come your invite link on your bot is invalid? I can't find anything outside of a few Twitter posts on OBTC. I can't get into Telegram. I can't even see a dev communicating, so I don't really know what's going on. Right now, OBTC is going down right now. I mean, it doesn't look like it's holding any support at all right now. And maybe this is why, I'm not really sure. But again, it's very small market cap overall. Here also low liquidity. It's kind of a high risk play. But again, if they roll out something, if they put out some sort of a release of some sort of project or some sort of platform, this thing could absolutely blow up. Stacks is the more established project for sure. So if you're like, I want to make a play, but I don't know what I want to do, maybe you want to, research Stacks a little bit more. How do you mint? Two more things I'm going to cover in the video. I'm going to show you how you can mint your own Bitcoin ordinal if you want to go that route. I'm also going to show you how you can find out exactly what my investment strategy is. So for next up, if you want to mint, come to gamma.io. This is where people come together to create and collect. What's next? Gamma is the open marketplace for Bitcoin NFTs. Start building your collection today. You want to connect your wallet and you just come here to create. Once you come to create, I mean, it's pretty simple. Just click start creating. And you'll just want to follow these instructions step by step. They're pretty straightforward. They also have a creator help center here as well. So you can set up your collection, deploy the contract, and request your mint page on Gamma. Now, here's the thing. When you go to mint, it's going to take about 10 minutes. And I've heard people say it takes longer than 10 minutes. And what you're essentially using, my understanding, is you're actually using the Stacks network. And if you wanted to, in fact, you can see that here. If you come to auctions, you can see NFTs that have been created. Notice that you can buy these NFTs with Stacks tokens right here. This is a sound file. That's pretty cool. 60 Stacks token for this, 145 Stacks tokens. These actually aren't very expensive. So if somebody want to come along and just speculate and buy up some NFTs, you could definitely do that as well. There are other ways to be able to mint Bitcoin ordinals or Bitcoin NFTs. If you want me to actually do a tutorial and actually walk through and do it, just let me know in the comments. I'll walk through and actually do it. If you don't need a tutorial and you want to kind of play around with this, it's gamma.io and then click on create. And that's all you have to do to get to this page here. You're probably going to need some Stacks tokens, I would assume, as well, and have a wallet set up for Stacks also. Now, what am I investing in? How am I investing? What are my personal overall thoughts? I'm going to be putting out a video and send it out to my email subscribers. Everyone who's subscribed to this free video course reveals a little known method to earn $100 per day. This actually doesn't have anything to do with Bitcoin ordinals. This is actually how I use gaming websites to earn passive income every day, real yield passive income. But I'm going to send out video explaining my specific investment strategy. I'm going to share with you exact dollar amounts, my thought process behind it, why I'm doing it, what I'm thinking about, and how I'm investing in the Bitcoin ordinal space. I'm also going to show you some things that I've done. I'm going to show you things that I've planned to do and some future ideas as well. I'm going to put in that video as well. So if you want to get that specific video, subscribe to this free video course. Now, a little bit about this video course. Again, this video course is not about Bitcoin ordinals itself. I just need a place for you to subscribe to. Probably within the next 2 days of this video getting uploaded, I will send out this whole Bitcoin ordinal video. But what you're going to be getting in the meantime is you're going to be getting a video delivered each day showing you specifically how I start earning a passive income in cryptocurrency, real yield passive income, where you're able to invest in projects that are paying out passive Bitcoin, passive Ethereum, passive BNB every single day. In fact, currently at the time of this video, I probably make about $36, $37 today. Now, one of my students or one of our Telegram members is actually earning about $360 a day with this exact same strategy. So just put in your name, email, phone number, click submit. In the next couple of days, I'll send you out my full Bitcoin ordinal playbook, exactly what I'm doing, what I'm investing in, how I'm investing, based on what I've researched, kind of my risk management strategy, if you will, as well. None of this should be considered financial advice. I'm a cryptocurrency YouTuber. I'm a cryptocurrency enthusiast. I believe in this technology, and I believe cryptocurrency is going to transform the world. Bitcoin ordinals may be one part of that. Let me know what your thoughts on Bitcoin ordinals. Do you think they're a good thing? Do you think they're a bad thing? I'd love to hear it in the comments. Ladies and gentlemen, decentralized cryptocurrency equals freedom. This is Crypto Wealth. I'm out.